Superintendent.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here tonight. I ask that you rise and we begin this meeting with a moment of silence, that we remember our men and women who are serving us throughout our state, our country, and around the world. And then please join me in a pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'm Diane Douglas. I have the honor and privilege of serving you as your Superintendent of Public Instruction for the state of Arizona. I'd like to do a few introductions before we get started on our listening tour this evening. I'd like to thank Yuma County Superintendent of Schools, Thomas Tyree, for being here to join us. Would you like to?
Thank you, Superintendent Douglas. Just a few brief remarks. First of all, thank all of you for being here tonight. I know how busy most of our schedules are, so appreciate you giving time to be here to provide any input you might have. And of course, we appreciate Superintendent Douglas for coming down to Yuma. As those of us who live here are prone to say, we always appreciate people from the great state of Maricopa coming down to Yuma every now and then. So we'll give her credit for doing that. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Also with me this evening on the dais is Bob Gold. He's our Associate Superintendent of Highly Effective Schools for the Arizona Department of Education. Bob, thank you for being here.
I too want to echo Superintendent Tyree and just thank you. I know that you all have busy schedules, so we appreciate hearing from you tonight. And I've had a wonderful day. I spent some time down in San Luis at Pastor Elementary, and it was a great day. And yeah, very cool, and a lot of fun kids this morning. So thank you for being here tonight.
Okay, also in the audience joining us tonight are Representatives Tondo, did I say that? Tondo, I apologize. Representative Fernandez and Senator Contrazi. So please stand up and say hello. I want to thank the president here, Dr. Mei Lee. This is a beautiful facility. We are so delighted to be here. If you are serving your community on a school board, would you please stand up and be recognized? Thank you. City Council, please. County Board of Supervisors. And if there are any other elected officials in the audience, please would you stand up and be recognized. Oh, I'm sorry, I have your card here. Jackie Price. She is the superintendent from La Paz. I have that. Sorry, I flipped it over where I made notes. I apologize. Thank you for being here. A Superior Court judge here? Thank you for being here tonight, sir. We appreciate that. Thank you. I've been down in Yuma before as I was campaigning for this position, and many of you might have heard me say that I did not support the standards that are currently being used in our school, Common Core standards. What I can't do as superintendent is change that carte blanche, nor would I think it'd be fair to do so. But what I can do is come out and hear your issues, hear your concerns, it's okay to praise, we can have some praise reports tonight, or hear whatever is on your mind. We want to get your feedback. I can't change things carte blanche, but what I can do is make recommendations to the State Board of Ed, to the governor, or to the legislature, depending the type of issues you have on your mind to be addressed. This meeting is not about politics. It's not about campaigning. It's not about past, present, or future campaigns. It's about holding public hearings that were never held back in 2010, when we really made some very radical changes to our education system without letting parents and classroom teachers weigh in. So that's what we're here for now, is to make sure you can give us our feedback. We're a ways down the road. I can't turn the clock back, but we can make sure what we do moving forward is have the highest standards for Arizona children and make sure those standards are chosen by Arizonans and that we have the control over our children's education. But that's not all we're here tonight. Tonight is open to any issue you have about education. The only restriction whatsoever is that it pertains to K-12 education, because that's what obviously I can have the most impact on. This is actually a two-part tour. We're here tonight to hear from you, for you to tell us what's on your mind. Questions are going to be deemed rhetorical tonight, so we're not going to have an answer. If it's a question that's a very short, perfunctory answer, we'll put that up on ADE's website that you can kind of go back and look through some of the issues. But I expect that some of the issues that we're going to hear from you are pretty complex. So we're not going to just give you an off the top of our head or off the cuff answer. And we're not going to try to convince you that something has to be the way it should be. We're here just to hear from you tonight. We'll take that information back to ADE and we will process it. Some of it may be standard, some of it may be things that are going on in the classroom, some of it may have to do with funding, a whole laundry list. We'll sort that out and then we'll make recommendations. As I said a moment ago, some may go to the governor, some may go to the State Board of Ed, some of them we may work to develop into legislation and take as bills to the legislators next year and hope for their support to get your education system working the way you want it to. And then in the fall, August or September is the tentative plan right now, we're going to come back out here and we'll be in Yuma again. And we're going to share the results, not only from what we've heard here, but from what we've heard all across the state, and let you know, these are the plans. These are how we plan to move forward with the information that you've given us or the help that you've asked us for. So just a little housekeeping, there's cards. If you'd like to speak this evening, just fill out a card, and there's Sally can help you. She'll gather them in and you can make your comments. If you're not comfortable, you can write a comment on the card and ask her to read it. We'll start with a few of those, or there's comment forms on your seats. We'll have the thing flipping up here all night that will tell you the website, and if you choose to give your feedback through the website, you're welcome to do that. However you want to give it, we're more than willing to take it. We're not, unlike maybe your city council meetings or your school board meetings where you get 2 minutes or 3 minutes to speak, then your time's up. We are going to hope to not have to put any time limits. I think with the crowd this size, we can probably get everybody's comments in, and you're welcome to say what you want. If we get to the end of all the speakers and someone's heard something that they want to comment on again, you'll be welcomed back up. At that point, we'll probably say keep it to a minute or two. So comments, another thing, if someone has already made your point, we'd still like you to come up. You don't have to reiterate the point again, but you can say, I agree with that, because we want to hear, is it one person that thinks that way? Is it 5? Is it 10? Or does the whole room think this is the right direction to go? So we also want to be able to gauge the volume of support for maybe a particular comment or issue. We have some resources available here for the hearing impaired, and we also have some Spanish language translator machines. So if you need the help of any of those resources, just see the people in the back, and they will help you with that. So with that, once again, I thank you all for being here. And we're going to sit and listen. If we have a clarifying question or something we're not sure we'll understand, will ask, but we're here to hear from you this evening. So thank you for being here. And Sally, are you going to start off with a few comments? And that'll break the ice for everybody. Then you'll all be ready to jump right out.
I have a couple of comments that are from folks that did not want to speak but did want their comments read. The first one says, my children are migrant students. They attend Crane District. Of all the help I have been informed from parents, SIMPAC meetings. This is for migrant students. It is not being provided because the superintendent does not give the help or support to migrant students. Tonight's meeting is an example. I came because another migrant parent told me of the meeting. The second comment is, why is our new governor not supporting education? He is deferring our children's education and taking money away. For example, he supports building new jails instead of supporting education. So we have educated people, not people behind bars. The next speaker would be Lynn Pancrazzi, the state senator from District 4.
Well, thank you for your service as well. I have to tell you, the reason I have quite a few pages is because for me to be able to read them, I have to have them so big.
I understand.
Yes, okay. Well, first of all, thank you, Superintendent Douglas, for your willingness to engage our community and hear our concerns. If we are to address the future viability of K-12 public education, we must begin to make public education the top priority of the state. While money is not the only hurdle to overcome, it is a big one. Arizona ranks dead last in school funding in a recently released National Education Association ranking. Additionally, across all educational metrics, Arizona ranks 47th nationally with a grade of D+ in the latest Quality Count survey. I started teaching in 1977, and we were ranked between 13th and 15th at that time. The legislature should cease the ideology-driven efforts to disadvantage school districts and begin to strategically invest in initiatives that will move the needle for all of our students. It is not that we, I'm not saying you can hear me. Oh my goodness. I thought my PE boys would do this, but I guess not. It is not that we as a state don't know what to do. It is only that we refuse to fund and support the effort. It is long past time that the governor and the majority leadership in both the houses, the House and the Senate of the legislature, put the partisan doctrine aside and start working with all legislators and stakeholders to prioritize the programs that will begin to move the state's K-12 public education system forward. Some of the issues that should be addressed include teacher recruitment and retention. Nationally, 46% of the starting teachers leave the profession within 5 years, but in Arizona, the numbers are far worse, with 24% of the starting teachers leaving the profession after the first year and an additional 20% leaving the profession after 2 years. Salary is a major contributing factor in both the recruitment and retention crisis facing Arizona's public schools. Arizona ranks 42nd nationally in average teacher salaries at $47,600 and has an average starting salary of just $31,874, and in many rural counties that I represent, that's even lower. This teacher crisis imposes enormous educational and financial burdens on our public schools, with ADE estimating that it costs on average $13,000 to attract and train each new teacher. Now, in rural Arizona, recruitment and retention is even more difficult. In fact, in Ajo, where I represent Ajo, he is recruiting teachers from the Philippines. So his teachers are coming over from the Philippines and getting work permits to teach in the Ajo School District. Settling the inflation funding lawsuit. The legislature has been unwilling to settle the Cave Creek versus Ducey school inflation funding lawsuit, but there is hope that current negotiations will bear fruit and the parties will come to an agreement soon. Settling this lawsuit, getting additional desperately needed M&O funding into classrooms across the state should be a bipartisan top priority for our state. The $332 million in increased funding each year, if we include the inflation factor, at the very least begins to address the need that I'm going to outline today. Statewide broadband access and classroom technology. Arizona finds itself way behind almost every other state in ensuring that all of our schools have access to high-speed broadband internet and associated classroom technology essential to educate 21st century learners. We live in an increasingly connected and technology-driven world, and depriving our students of access to this technology in the educational settings has real-world impacts in the terms of students' ability to access new jobs being created by our growing economy. I know in Buckeye and here in Yuma, the high school students each have their own laptop. Buckeye just finished purchasing theirs with their override dollars, so, Yuma's had them down for a while. And that's what we need in every school. Third grade reading retention, intervention, and middle school pathway programs. First, third grade reading intervention. I have Move On When Reading. I supported that and strongly still support Move On When Reading. Move On When Reading program has made a significant impact in reducing the number of children reading at the falls far below category on the third grade reading assessment. However, most of these students are merely moving up to the approaching cohort and are thus still not reading at grade level. There is a stark correlation between reading at grade level in third grade and future success in school and the workforce. Let me put in the comment, we used to say K-3 either makes them or breaks them. And I taught elementary school, kindergarten through third. So, and the other thing that we used to say is K through 3, you're learning to read. Fourth and on, you're reading to learn. So if you can't read by the third grade, it's really hard to move on. So it is essential that we stay on path to improvement in this effort, and that we double down on strategies that will have all of our students reading at grade level in third grade. While we are seeing some progress on the early literacy front, we have another major issue that we need to address if we are to see substantive improvements in educational outcomes. Namely, creating a middle school pathways program that assesses every student early in their middle school years to give them a sense of where their aptitude lies, and that lays out a clear path for success in high school. As students move into the middle school years, their access to many of their neighborhood's destructive social influences, like gangs and drugs, and too many make bad choices and end up on the path of dropping out and seeing their chances for a better life slip away. If we could refocus our students early in their middle school years and work with them to understand that there is a clear path forward to success in high school, higher education, and a productive career that contributes to their community, we would not only have a better success in attracting the kind of economic development that will move our state forward, but we could begin to address the cycle of poverty and despair that is all too prevalent in our state. Now I'd like to talk about JTEDs and the CTE programs. We recently enacted a FY16 budget included in the provisions that would reduce JTED and school district ADM funding for students attending satellite JTED programs by 7.5%, starting in FY17. This is exactly the wrong direction. We should be enhancing all manner of JTED and district-based career and technical education programs to give our students that are headed for higher education or taking the career pathway that can develop careers and professions. Students enrolled in JTEDs and CTE programs have among the highest high school completion rates of any cohort students. These programs are essential tools to allow students to pursue a variety of career options and remain engaged in a good education. Here in Yuma County, we just passed funding to begin our JTED, and our JTED funding is being cut. That is a huge, huge crisis for us. Now I get to standards and assessments, our favorite little part. The Arizona College and Career Ready Standards will be put to their first test with the administration of the new AC Merits Assessment currently being administered. As with any assessment, there will be a need to assess the results and revise the test as needed. However, it is essential that we stay on the path and demand that the standards and assessments remain vigorous and that we maintain the ability to assess a student's readiness for college and career. We need to cut through the fog of politically motivated and reactionary concerns that these new standards and assessments represent a federal takeover of our education system, which they do not. These are Arizona standards, and we must ensure that they remain our own and that they be enhanced and revised to truly reflect the quality of teaching and learning occurring every day in our public classrooms all over the state. Last is school facilities, construction, and maintenance. As a result of the settlement of the long and contentious Roosevelt versus Bishop School capital finance case in the 1980s, the state created the School Facilities Board, appropriated billions of dollars to bring schools statewide to a minimum adequacy standard, and established the building renewal formula in statute. Beginning in 2008, the legislature began suspending the appropriations to the formula and ultimately eliminated the formula from statute entirely. The legislature's unwillingness to fund both new school construction and building renewal will soon result in a lawsuit to reopen the Roosevelt versus Bishop case. The courts are not the venue to set public policy. So the legislature needs to do its job and return the funding to the huge school facility needs in our state. School districts are forced to raise precious M&O funds for desperately needed repairs to their facilities, which means these funds can't be used in the classroom to educate children. And with that, those are my concerns, and I appreciate very much you coming here tonight, and if there's anything I can do to help, please let me know. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you. We're going to hear from Charlene Fernandez now, and after that, Jackie Kravitz, if you want to move to the front.
Superintendent Douglas, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you coming, and I think you do have the governor's ear. And all of us in here, I think, can agree to disagree on many of the issues that Senator Pancrase brought forward. Just my 81 days in the state legislature taught me that we are different and we have different ideas. But I think the one thing we can agree on, and the one thing I want to bring up to you, and the one thing I hope you carry to our governor, is that our teachers deserve a raise. I served on the school board for 8 years, and we struggled every one of those 8 years. And I know you know Superintendent Douglas because you were on the school board. We struggled for 8 years trying to figure out how we could give a meaningful raise. Every time there was a little bit of money that we could pass on to our teachers, the retirement rate went up, or insurance rates went up, or both of them went up, and our teachers went home with paychecks that were less than they were the year before. And so I hope you will take that to the governor. Tell him if nothing else, we'll work on the others, but right now, our teachers deserve a living wage. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, my name is Jackie Kravitz, and I am not a politician. So I applaud everybody in here who does politics because I put into it. But I am a former educator. I was a teacher for 7 years and had the privilege of teaching at Crane Middle School once I moved here. And I am currently the mother of 2 school-age children. And so I appreciate the opportunity to come here and be heard. So thank you. I have a grave concern about education for the gifted student, which is something that I believe might not be the most prevalent idea in this room. But personally, I think that education affects us for all time. We have members that come into our community as professionals when they have children and they go to look at the public school options in Arizona, unfortunately bailed from the state of Arizona and moved. And that has been happening in the medical community recently in droves. And it saddens me that our schools are not preparing our children to become those professionals for the future. I would love to see STEM education be incorporated more fully into our, actually it was an English teacher, more fully into our curriculum so that we could prepare those students for the 21st century. And like Mrs. Pancrasi said, our 21st century learners do deserve one-on-one electronic devices so that they are prepared for the workforce. I would personally very much like to thank Mindy and John Jessen and the entire Gowan Company for offering a STEM education program for the higher achieving students. And I would love to be able to use that as an example statewide so that we could encourage higher level thinking. And we could not just teach the standard, but understand the concept. I would love to use that as a model. And I know that rather than just sit here and complain, we would love to offer a suggestion. You can't get money from a stone. So I offer this. Perhaps we can go back to the governor and suggest a tax credit change. It seems a little lopsided to me as a proponent of public education that as a taxpayer in the state of Arizona, I can only donate $400 to public education, but $2,000 to private at the tax credit. So if we have no more money anywhere else, maybe we could go back to the people who are willing to write that check and offer them a greater tax credit for public education. And not just for extracurricular activities, but for electronics or for maintenance of our schools, which are falling apart. Or even perhaps the dreaded teacher increased salary, because without them, we have nothing. So I thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. We have Charles, is it Recker? Rachel Barkley, and it looks like James Sheldall. You guys can line up and move to the front. We'd appreciate it.
All right, there's a lot of things I want to say. Well, first of all, I'm a teacher. I teach one of the schools right here on the street and right here on this road here. And I think one of the things that would keep teacher retention mostly is if you guys could find a way to not get these administrators that are too touchy-feely. I mean, I understand about, caring about the kids, and I totally love the kids. And the problem is that you got administrators that, and thankfully I don't work for one of those, but we have administrators, and I've worked for the Phoenix, where they end up making all these excuses for these kids, and these kids that should be out of school are not out of school. I had one student last year, he's a 6th grader, and he brought a whole bag of pot into the school, and he only got 1 day suspension, and then he was back the next week. And unfortunately, the administrators, they have the belief that they have to save every child. Now, it's a noble goal, but the child's going to want to save himself. If the child doesn't want to save himself, there's nothing a teacher or an administrator or anybody else can do. And the only thing that can change that child is hitting a brick in the wall. And if hitting a brick in the wall is by getting, expelled from school or kicked out of school, that's the best thing for that child. But what's even better for the school is that child being kicked out. Because the student that I'm thinking of, he was the most charismatic, friendly guy that you can imagine. And he used that power of his, that talent of his, to spread chaos. And it wasn't just him, it was a whole bunch of other kids just like him who were charismatic, that they were so disrespectful towards the teachers and towards the authority, but they were allowed to stay, and they were disrupting classrooms constantly. They were just, they just ruined everything. And that's what's killing teachers is the fact that after a month of working at that place, I came into that place and I was so thrilled to be a teacher. I've taught a couple of years. I was so excited. I got my master's degree and I was just thrilled to give it all my all into that school. And after a month, I knew I was being set up for failure. And by the last few weeks of school, well, the last week of school, I got water thrown in my face. That was the second time another thug kid threw water in my face in the classroom. I just couldn't deal with it anymore. I ended up just taking a pay cut that last week of school teaching because I just couldn't stand it anymore. And if administrators were taken to task if they were held responsible for the behavior of or for the work environment of the school, then things would be a whole lot better. I now work at a wonderful school, Castledon Middle School. It's like the best place I've ever worked at. I want to stay there forever. And the reason why is because the administrators, they don't take nothing from students that are causing trouble. Now, they aren't hard-nosed sergeants who are ready to send kids to the firing squad. They love all the kids. They love them, as I love these kids too. But after a while, if a kid does something wrong, and it's too serious, then regardless if you like the kid, regardless if they're charming and all that, you have to send them out and you have to expel them. And there are many other schools here in this city too that I've worked for, where the administrators, they know when to draw the line. Unfortunately, there's some administrators that don't know when to draw the line, and it wears out on the teachers. And so I think what you ought to do is if the school has a high teacher turnover, there's got to be a system where the principals are held to pay. So that's it. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Rachel Barkley, and I want to thank everyone for coming down to Yuma to hear what we have to say about education, and for Tom for representing Yuma, and our other legislators. I appreciate their thoughts. I agree with everything that I've heard from our legislators so far. The words they spoke came right out of my mouth, so I'll try not to repeat what they said. I am a parent of a 15-year-old high school freshman, and I am a paraprofessional at an elementary school here in Yuma, Alice Burns. And I work with the 4th and 5th graders in math interventions to help them learn the new standards that we're working on these last few years. And I am an advocate for education in the state of Arizona. I have great concerns for the recent budget cuts that were made, and these cuts were on top of some of the deepest cuts to any state in the country per pupil, as we've already heard. And they are going to affect, or they will affect, our children and the future of our state. The cuts included over $113 million to K-12, and I won't even include the community colleges that were cut. And it's going to cut child care services for low-income mothers and will impact districts and charter schools in different ways, including things like school closures, teacher layoffs, shorter work school week, elimination of full-day kindergarten, and paraprofessional interventions such as me, like I am. The cuts to higher education will probably limit the access and affordability for many Arizona students and adults, which will impact the growth of our economy. We have to prioritize opportunity and excellence for all children in the state of Arizona so that Arizona is a great place to live and do business, and that we keep our students in the state of Arizona and our adults. If we don't put money in education that it deserves, then the state will end up spending more money on entitlements for people that don't have an education and can't get a job. I am asking you to please oppose the attempts in the legislature to expand ESAs, which are empowerment scholarship accounts, to all the children. Right now, they're just for special ed and military. Because if we give them to all the children, this is undermining the fabric of a public education system. And also the taxpayers are paying for our children's public education system, and we need to make sure that the taxpayer money is going where it should be. It would not be possible to track it if it was going to private or parochial schools or even homeschools. In closing, I was an art education major at Arizona State University 25 years ago. And over the last 10 years, minimum wage has increased 53%, and our teachers' salaries are almost the same as they were 25 years ago. Our teachers are professionals that need to be treated as such financially. They're molding the future of our children and our state. We are ranked 42nd in the nation for teacher salaries, and we need great teachers in every classroom. We need more college students who want to be teachers. The rising cost of college tuition and a beginning teacher's salary make it almost impossible to live and pay back the student loans that these students will have, and we need to fix this and support our teachers. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jamie Sheldon. I'm an associate superintendent at the Yuma High School District. But I will be over here on our own time tonight, aren't we? So I would like to thank you for being here. Thank you for coming to listen to us. I have a few different topics to talk about. Some that have come up earlier. I happen to be one of the many administrators that one of our former speakers, one of our earlier speakers tonight has worked for. And all I can say is I would invite you and to bring anyone else to come down and tour any of our schools at any time. Just give us a call. We'd love to have you come and see what we're doing in the classroom, what our teachers are doing, and welcome that opportunity to give you that tour, or anybody else in the room for that matter. Great, thank you. First, if I could ask you to do anything as a superintendent of public instruction, it would be to try to elevate the profession. I became very frustrated with a couple of your predecessors who seemed to preface many of their statements with the statement that says we don't need more money to improve education in Arizona. I think we've gone down that road to the point where that's no longer a valid statement. And when teachers hear the state superintendent say that, what they hear is that we really don't need to give teachers any more money to be the professional educators that we need them to be for our kids. Secondly, I would like to say that Common Core is not a threat to Arizona's public schools. You may or may not be aware that just under 80% of the migrant eligible students in Arizona are in Yuma County. In Yuma County, we also have a military base and an Army proving ground. We have a huge percentage of our student population that is mobile. They go from state to state. They don't just move within Arizona, they move all over the country. When we meet with our partners at the military installations, that is the #1 concern that our parents have, is that there is not a consistent set of expected standards regarding what students know and are able to do from state to state. It's been hinted at, maybe I'll be a little more direct. One thing that I do believe is a threat to public education is the expansion. You talked earlier today in your intro about some radical changes. One of those radical changes that's been implemented in Arizona without too much public comment is the degree of money that goes in from tax money to private interests, education tax money. corporate interests with ubiquitous lobbyists, dark money, organizations that draft model legislation. Those interests threaten public education in Arizona. Those interests in our country have had tens of billions of dollars of profit from tax money, from school budget money that state legislators have allocated. The next thing I'd like to talk about is, it was brought up earlier, the ESAs and the tax credit issue. You know, for hundreds of years, private schools in America have thrived. They've been an important part of the education landscape. They've been a great opportunity for people who who chose that as their option, and they've had viable funding sources. They've been able to survive economically. They've been able to thrive. They've been some very highly performing schools around our country. The injection of public money, whether it's through vouchers, the ESAs that were previously referred to, or through the tax credit, is not warranted. And what it does is it helps to contribute to structural budget deficit in our state legislature. And in turn, then that structural budget deficit becomes an excuse to further cut public education. This year, as an example, if I could just give an example, when I got my tax bills for my property tax, I looked at my contributions to the local school districts. Had I, this past year, given the $1,200 that I could have given to a private school, then that contribution to one private school would have doubled my total contribution via property tax, both primary and secondary, to Yuma District 1, Yuma Union High School District, and the Community College District. Doubled it. That's money that would have otherwise gone to the general fund. Siphoning that money away from the general fund contributes to the structural deficit. So if we could implore you to work with the people that whose ears you have, to share that and to support the public schools in that area, we would very much appreciate it. Lastly, I am a parent. We have, there were 4 constituency groups on this letter that I read, and we had all 4 of them. Administrators, teachers, students, and parents in our household. I'm a parent of 3. One's still in high school. He passed all his Ames tests. Wasn't happy about taking the easy merit, but he came to school and he took it. He was fortunate enough to take the ACT test as part of the district choice ACT just yesterday, which is a great program that's been supported by the Youth Education Foundation that we've taken advantage of for the 6th year in a row now. But my 2 older children are both out of school, and they both live out of state. And after spending some time out of state, they ain't coming back. My 3rd child, who's a junior in high school, is looking at colleges. The savings to be gained by staying in state of Arizona is not a no-brainer anymore. To spend the money that we're going to need to spend as parents at one of our state universities, huge universities, over the course of, who knows, they publish a 6-year graduation rate. Over the course of all those years, it's not necessarily the best deal, even when you're looking at out-of-state tuition in other states. But they've moved away. My other 2 children have moved away, and after spending some time in other states, the quality of life, the support of the education systems in those states, they do not see a reason to come back to the state of Arizona. In 1992, Ross Perot, in the presidential race, talked about the giant sucking sound and talked about that. Well, in the 2015 in Arizona, the giant sucking sound is going to be bright and talented kids who are leaving Arizona and not coming back. So those are my comments. I would like to recommend a book for you. I went to the store today to buy it for you, but they didn't have it. It's called 50 Myths and Lies That Threaten America's Public Schools. It's by David Berliner and Gene Glass. You may recognize David Berliner as a retired Dean of the Education Department at Arizona State University. Again, thank you for indulging me. Thank you for coming to Yuma to visit, and have a good evening.
Thank you very much. Representative Otondo would like to go next, and then after that, Jennifer Castle.
Thank you, Superintendent Douglas. I said I wasn't going to speak, but here I am. I've been inspired. The first time we met personally was at the Education Committee, where I'm ranking member for the Democratic Party. Today I would like to speak as a citizen of Yuma, a former public school teacher, and the daughter of Mary Otondo, the school next door. You know, my mom resigned as a school nurse because they were cutting funding from the schools and cutting non-academic positions, cutting nurses, closing libraries. And it's kind of funny because it sounds very familiar again that it's happening again to our schools. So I say that with pride because I really believe in the public school system. And I really believe that more than just the teachers are important. Our counselors, our teachers, our assistants in the classroom, our librarians, they're all the community that teach our children. And because of the budget cuts that we've seen, many of these positions will be eliminated. And I find that very disconcerting. In committee this last session, I saw several bills that, quite frankly, scared me. We have seen the expansion of empowerment scholarships. They've been mentioned here, but there are much more than scholarships now for disabled students. We have now passed a bill that will allow grandparents who have children in their home to receive vouchers, and they actually only need a notarized note. It doesn't have to be anything that's proven. We've also had the siblings of disabled. We passed five bills in the House that allowed growth of the empowerment scholarships. And the reason this is disconcerting to me is because this is fully funded. These vouchers are fully funded from the general fund. So what I really want to ask of you, Superintendent Douglas, is we need to review the entire funding system of not only our public schools, but all of our schools. Arizona has made the decision to be a state of choice, but we need to ensure that our public school systems are healthy, because in my opinion, they're truly the equalizer of all of our children. I was raised in a public school system. It's where I learned to socialize, and they were quite good then, and I know we have great teachers now. I just look at my colleagues from the legislature, and you're looking at 4 teachers from Legislative District 4. Nick Pendergrass, who taught for 28 years. Charlotte Fernandez in the classroom as well, got her master's in education, and I taught at Crane Middle School for 5 years with a great vice principal that is now a principal sitting back here, so we're all huge supporters. There are ways to also find funding or cut certain things that are not effective. And one of the irks, to me, one of the greatest irks are STOs. So for those of you who aren't familiar, STOs are student tuition organizations that basically act as the go-between between the charter school, between the state and the funding, the budget, and charter school, right, charter schools. And what they take out of our tax dollars is 10%. So when that student that's going to a private charter school gets their money and it goes through an STO, 10% of the money is kept for administrative costs. But those of us who have been in education know that administrative costs are only 3% approximately. So 7% of our taxpayer dollars are being handled by STOs. That is too much. These are large profits being made by STOs. These are our tax dollars. And we're in a crunch now, and we need to find the money so that we can support our public schools. So I've spoken about vouchers and the expansion, and in 2019, the cap comes off of the vouchers, meaning that more and more vouchers will be available. This can't happen. Please, please keep the cap on. Do not expand anymore. The initial idea to give disabled children an option was one thing. Allowing everybody to take out of the pot and not have it be for public schools is, like I said, very disconcerting. And the last thing I want to talk about was an amendment that I saw in the second to last committee that I was in. And needless to say, I basically said, I implore you, do not put this amendment on. It didn't make it on, but we heard it again in committee of the whole, and it was slapped on. And basically, I believe, and I have no proof of this, but this was a retaliation for the superintendents of East Phoenix who all got together and let the parents know what was happening with the state budget and education. And the amendment that I'm speaking of, that was trying to be added on, would fine teachers, principals, superintendents, anybody that works in public education, you would be fined $5,000 if you were talking politics instead of commercial. Now let me tell you, when I was a teacher, I spoke about the state budget. It's why I'm in politics today. I know it is our concern, but to be fined $5,000 because you're talking about politics, when actually it was about, even if you're talking about the state budget, that would also be considered. I completely understand not using any funds from schools to allow that information out. But we must have our voice as educators, as parents, as superintendents, principals, and school board members. So please, Superintendent, do not support any amendments along those lines that impede on our freedom of speech, because I do believe that it will be found unconstitutional at the end of the day, and once again, only cost the state more money. Superintendent Douglas, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate your time. I look forward to working with you, and my door is always open if you ever would like to reach out to me, or I will be reaching out to you as a member of the Education Committee. Thank you so much.
And I'm a teacher. This is my 10th year teaching, and I'm a teacher because I believe in children. I always have, and I always will. And when I hear people, legislators, news people, say things like, I don't believe in the Arizona college and career readiness standards, they're too hard for kids. These are kids in poverty, these are kids on a reservation, these are kids that are migrant, and they can't do it, it's too hard for them. It hurts me, because as a teacher, my fundamental belief is that my kids can do anything, and that I can get them to do anything. If we don't believe enough as a state that our kids can compete on a national and international level, then I think we need to be looking at what we're doing in education, not at the standards we're asking them to meet. I also think that our kids are a lot more than just a point of data. Our kids are smart and funny and kind and clever, and we want them to learn for the sake of learning. We want them to learn to be successful in life, not just on a test. They're more than data, and the amount of pressure that we put on testing requires us to teach in a way that is about getting things done earlier and faster, not better. And we have to remember that our kids are successful in life, not just on a test. I'm also a parent, and as I get ready to send my young child to preschool and then on to kindergarten, I want his teachers to expect big things of him. I'm not accepting just little things. I want great things for him, and that he won't accomplish them if we hold him to low standards. So I fundamentally believe in the Arizona College and Career Readiness Standards, and I hope that we all can hold our kids to the standards that other people in other states can meet.
Thank you for your comments. The next 3 people to speak are Ron Iveson, Judy Munger, and Tara Guerrero. If you want to come up and make a line, you're up to speak next.
Hi, I'm Ron Iveson. Really appreciate you coming down, Superintendent Douglas. Just appreciate not working. Appreciate you being here too, Superintendent Tyree. I was going to vote for your competitor, Diane, but then I went down to the Republican office. I saw this sign that says, "Stop Common Core. Elect Diane Douglas." So, and I've still got it on my picture because that impressed me. And so you converted one person right here. And again, I appreciate everyone that's here. We need these kinds of town hall meetings. This is so important in government. And I've not been in government, but when I was in Kansas before I retired, I did run for legislature and for state senate. I have a fairly good sized family. I have 6 children, 3 boys and 3 girls, and 15 grandchildren and 2 more on the way. So I do have a concern here in the school systems too. And I taught at Kansas State University in Kansas and at Colby Community College in Colby. And I realize you said keep this to K to 12, but obviously I have children still in the situation in grandchildren, especially. And I did substitute teach down here in the Crane District for a couple of years after I came retired and came down here. But I quit because of the discipline problem. It was quite a problem. And so I can relate to some that have spoken up. But what I want to speak about, and I'll only take just a few more minutes, but it is on Common Core. I do not agree that Common Core is something that we don't have to fear, because it was something that liberal elites, and I'm just going to read a few things here that Rick Santorum sent me a deal, whether you like Rick Santorum or don't, doesn't matter, but he did send something against Common Core, and I want to read just a few things here. It was proposed by liberal elites that have quietly hatched a scheme called Common Core to transform Arizona schools into indoctrination centers and cut parents out of their children's education altogether. As one leading educational expert said, Common Core standards indicate they were designed to teach students what to think, not how to think. And just a few more things here. And parents, so many of them have no idea about the kind of nonsense and liberal worldviews that's in these new standards. A student at a Common Core school can expect timeless classics like Huckleberry Finn, one of my favorite books, replaced with suggested readings like a pro-Obamacare essay from the New Yorker praising Barack Obama for the government takeover of healthcare, a human sexuality curriculum proposed in partnership with Planned Parenthood, the nation's #1 abortion provider, that demeans and belittles family values, junk science pushing global warming extremism, and ridiculous math assignments requiring second graders to perform 8 steps to solve a simple subtraction problem. American history hijacked the left-wing textbooks that depict the founding fathers as just a bunch of racist hypocrites. Lesson plans that state the commands of government officials must be obeyed by all. And this scheme, was funded by some big people like George Soros and Bill Gates, and it was done in a shroud of secrecy. Composed almost entirely in secret, parents and teachers had no say in the writing of the Common Core standards. Liberal billionaires, as I said, funded it. Both Republican and Democratic politicians are taking the bait to implement Common Core with as little public scrutiny as possible. Fewer than 4 in 10 parents have even heard of Common Core despite its radical agenda. And I don't know why, but I thought this hearing was primarily about Common Core, so I sure want to get into a little bit. But I thank you so much for being here, and I really appreciate all that you guys are doing and will be doing. Thank you so much.
Superintendent Douglas and members of the panel, thank you for being here and thank you for listening. I speak to you today as a parent. My name is Judy Munger, and I'm in support of the Arizona College and Career Ready standards. My 6th grade daughter was exceeding the 2010 standards in reading every year, according to Ames. However, I was not convinced that she was being prepared for a career and a future in the world that was unfolding. It's scary for many to have a change in standards, and other parents I talk to, I understand that. But we need to really look at what's in the standards, and many of the things this previous speaker's talking about are not in the standards. That's politics, and I don't believe that should be part of what we're looking at when we're deciding what our children should be taught in schools. My daughter's instruction then with the 2010 standards was splintered and focused on a series of individual skills and obtaining information. These skills and information had to be repeated within school years and across grade levels due to a lack of retention by many students. So my daughter was exceeding, and I was told she could comprehend. This definition of comprehension meant that she could read a passage and answer a series of questions. But where was the connection to real life that prepared her for the future? Where was the transfer to other learning, what reading is really about, and the love of reading? So now with the instruction under the Arizona College and Career Ready standards, she continues to exceed, but under a much better definition of exceed. Less standards and more time to build a foundation leads to improved retention. My daughter now gains skills and a multiple layered foundation that transfers so that she can make deep connections with what she reads to current events, projects, and other novels. She's learning the how and the why, and not just the what. I can see how instruction under these standards prepares her for a successful future. She's interested and challenged. I realize that there are issues such as a lack of a qualified pool of teachers, a lack of funding. I do not believe that the issues that need to be addressed in our state are with the current academic standards. With these standards, learning sticks with students longer and transfers so that it can be used productively. Please support the Arizona College and Career Ready standards.
My name is Tara Guerrero, and as a very proud Yuman, born and raised, I'd like like to welcome you to our wonderful city. I would like to introduce myself first as a parent who is seeing the profound effects of high-quality standards in our schools today. My first grade daughter is a child that thrives on challenge and learning new things. She's always eager to come home and explain all that she's been taught. And from a university student who minored in mathematics, you can imagine my delight when I heard her explain in great depth and detail her solution process to a problem. To hear a 6-year-old explain concepts of place value, various counting strategies, and show an understanding of the relationship between addition and subtraction is music to the ears. Because of these experiences with my daughter, I wholeheartedly support the Arizona College and Career Ready standards. I would also like to introduce myself as a public school district math coordinator, the West Central Regional Vice President for Arizona Association of Teachers of Mathematics, and an NCTM member who has spent innumerable hours studying the K-8 mathematics standards, the progression documents, as well as having attended countless hours of training from nationally recognized mathematics educators. My daily work involves helping teachers understand the coherent structure of the standards and their depth. The professional development that I provide emphasizes more than just procedures, but the mathematical reasoning behind such processes. A reoccurring question that I hear from teachers is, why wasn't I taught this when I was in school? Followed by comments like, I would have understood math so much better. As a proponent of the Arizona College and Career Ready standards, I know that it would be a huge disservice if we were to take a step backwards and rescind any adoption of such high quality standards that are truly improving the mathematical literacy of teachers and of students. Just from the comments that I heard today, I know that there is frustration from parents, I hear them, regarding student homework and the requirements, the tasks that are assigned to them, coupled with the furtherance of these standards and not having a very clear picture and understanding the difference between the standards and curriculum, or the standards and homeworks that are assigned by individual teachers. And so in closing, I would just like to say, please support these standards and know that they really do require our students to think. They not only require our students to think, but they also push our teachers to learn math in a way that they themselves realized was missing from their own education. Thank you for your time.
Again, thank you for your comments. The next 3 speakers are Andrew Smith, Jennifer Hill, and then Gary Knight.
Thank you for coming to Yuma. Thank you for coming to Yuma County, and thank everyone for being here. Thank you all. I want to talk about something that seems to show up every so many election cycles. It's called unification and consolidation. A few years ago, I got to be on the committee that reviewed unification and consolidation around the state, and Tony Bedone, also from Yuma, was on that committee. At that time, I was representing Yarnell School District. And it concerned me because the state values local control until it comes to some school issues. Then it seems that all hands are off. We want to control from Phoenix, we're going to do it. And we see that with some of the amounts of policies we have to read as a school board, policy reviews, and of course new laws that come out, and of course are tied to new policies. And every year about this time, I'm expecting about 16 to 20 policy reads coming up. That changes about every year, but that's what we have to go through. And local control is a concern because programs and curriculum don't fit everywhere in the state, as we know that. For example, in Antelope Union, agriculture is very big. Kids love it, very productive in it, and we want to keep those kind of programs going. Of course, with our JTED, that will hopefully be enhanced. We want to be able to control programs and have curriculum that fit our needs and fit our students' interests. And it's concerning that we want to eliminate school districts and eliminate the power of local school boards or elected officials, democratically elected, and unify and consolidate, while at the same time expanding other types of schools or giving public taxpayer money to private schools. That's been a concern of mine for some time. So for example, a vote, go back a few years, a vote that came up was to consolidate the schools of Eastern Yuma County, the 3 elementary districts and a high school district. And it can be done, but let the people there decide if they want to do it. Let the boards decide there if they want to do it. We're big boys and girls, we can read. And I would say that the same way for the rest of the state. Up in the Prescott area where I worked before, it was 5 small districts consolidated into one, or consolidated with Yuma, excuse me, to unify with Wickenburg and Prescott, not Yuma, sorry. But again, those voters voted that down, and the voters here also voted that down. Again, at the same time, we're expanding one type of school while trying to stifle and close another type of school. We can share and save on our budgets. We share grants now, we have consortiums. We share transportation facilities. Sometimes we share personnel. We can make these decisions on our own. And sometimes there's this admin cost scapegoat. You know, all these admins around the state, every school district, small, has a superintendent, assistant superintendent, blah, 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 down the line of types of administrators. That's not true. Visit any small school district, and you'll see. In Sentinel, Chris Maines is a bus driver. In Antelope, Bart Rude, our principal, is also a bus driver. Our business manager is a baseball coach. Payroll clerk does cheer. And I'm not only a superintendent, but I'm a music teacher. I can't drive a bus anymore because I have high blood pressure. And since I need my rest, what's that? Well, but I used to drive when I worked in Wellman. We value our small schools, we value the control, we value our elected officials in those small schools. We value our relationships, and we value our people as communities. Let's not close one type of school in favor of other expanding others. That's not a fair type of comparison, and I thank you all for coming down.
I'm coming as a parent. I'm a mother to 6 children. My youngest is 11 and my oldest is 21. And so I have a lot of experience with kids going through the education system. I'm really surprised at how many people are in favor of, yes, Jennifer Hill, sorry. I really am surprised at how many people are in favor of the Common Core. I have had children. When I first got married, I started out in Flagstaff and pulled my kids from the public school system and had them attend Montessori because the public school systems were not up to par there. And when we moved from Flagstaff to Texas, my kids were in the Texas school systems, which were very great school systems. I would love to go back to that Texas school system. Money was allocated where it needed to be. Teachers wanted to be there, and a lot of their funding came from property taxes, and I realized that education has to be funded. That's how they funded in Texas. It was property taxes. If you want to invest in your child's education, you've got to find a way to do it. From Texas, I was then in Colorado. That's when some of my kids started having problems in school, was when the Common Core was adopted, because that's when confusion came. They didn't understand how to solve the math problems anymore. My 3 oldest kids who didn't have to go through the Common Core fare very well. They haven't had any problems. I've got a son at ASU right now, he's a straight A student. And before that, he attended college in Colorado, straight A student there. But I don't know what he would be if he had to go through Common Core and then transfer that on the college level. Not only am I a parent, I am also a student or college. And what I'm finding is that the traditional methods that I learned as a child here, I grew up here in Yuma, Arizona, of how to solve problems. The kids that are coming into college right now, they're not understanding how to do the college math. I'm understanding it far better than they are. And that's really surprising me, because here everybody's saying this is going to improve and they're going to learn so much more. They aren't. You go to college and you talk to these math classes where these kids just graduated from high school, they don't know how to do the math that they just graduated in. And so I am shocked at how many people really think that this is actually better standards for the kids. It's not, and it is not. I'm a firm believer in raising the standards for the kids. I know if you expect more out of the students, they're going to give it to you. As a parent, when I expect more out of my kids, they'll give it to me. If I do not expect more, they're not going to give it to me. So their expectations have to be made, but they have to be the right ones, and Common Core is not the answer. The Arizona Merit Test, after having reviewing it, I didn't agree with the Arizona Merit Test either. I wasn't sure what they were assessing on the Arizona Merit Test, asking kids for opinions instead of actually testing them on actual concepts. And I'm still trying to figure out what the purpose of the Arizona Merit Test was. So I'd like more information on that at some point. And as far as computers for every kid in the classroom, I don't think they need it. I think that there are a lot of homes where people have technology in their homes. If kids do not have that technology in their homes, let's provide it for them. Let's make sure they have it. But I don't think we need to make sure every student has a computer. Here at the high school, I know they allocate it for the freshmen. I have computers at home. My kids don't need it, so some of that money is wasted. So let's only buy computers for the kids that need it and make sure that they all have access to it, but we don't need to spend money where it doesn't need to be spent. And I think that's all I have right now. Thank you.
My name is Gary Knight, and I too would like to thank you, Superintendent Douglas, for being here to listen to us. My field of expertise is not in education. It's in business. With over about 35 years in business and just recently a politician, but I own my own business, and to me, looking at our education system, one of the things that stands out, and one of the things I would hope you can do, is institute a program whereby we aren't advancing our teachers out of the classroom. And by that I mean, it seems like our teachers became teachers because they want to teach, they love children, and they want to be teachers. But the only way they can advance in their profession is, and get paid more money, is to advance into a principal or assistant principal or basically administration. That's how they advance, and I think what we need to do, if you could just institute some kind of program where they can advance in what they're doing, in teaching. I don't see anything wrong with a teacher salary that's higher than a principal. I think that the teachers should have a way to advance, get paid more money, and of course this would be pretty much performance-based, but the ones that are doing a good job, we need to keep them in the classroom where they're doing the best for our kids, and not make them assistant principals and principals and assistants to the assistants. It just doesn't make sense to me. I think they should be able to advance, get paid more, and not have to get out of the classroom to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. The next two speakers are Roxana Ortega and Gabriela Quintero.
I'll be presenting.
Hola, buenas noches. Mi nombre es Roxana Ortega y me da mucho gusto que ponga de tiempo para escuchar nuestras preocupaciones como padres y en cuanto a la educación de nuestros hijos.
Hi, my name is Roxana Ortega, and I'm thankful that you're here to listen to our concerns for our children.
Una cosa que me concierne mucho a mí, yo soy un padre migrante, es muy duro para mí estar un tiempo sin esposo y para mis hijos me preocupa. tengo un hijo con autismo y tengo preocupaciones en cuanto al programa migrante, pero también tengo más preocupaciones en cuanto a educación especial, porque mi hijo tiene autismo.
She's a migrant parent, and her concern is that her husband moving when the season goes from the next California, and she also has a kid with autism, and that's going to be one of her questions.
Mi hijo está dentro del distrito escolar y cuando entró a los 5 años lo calificaron para un programa y era la categoría bajo la cual él estaba. Y la reevaluación me lo querían sacar del programa porque dijeron que él ya no calificaba. Y fui con una persona y me dijo que lamentablemente él no podía hacer nada, que el niño no calificaba para el programa. Y me informé, fui con un programa que se llama Raising Special Kids. Ellos me informaron que yo podía hacer una carta y llevarla al distrito y hacerme escuchar por medio de esa carta. Y ahorita me siento muy triste porque no nos escuchan sino a través de eso.
When her child was 5, he was diagnosed with autism, and then when he started school, they did the test, I believe, and they told her that he didn't qualify for autism or special ed, and she went and looked to the community and find out. She went to Raising Special Kids, and they told her that she needs a letter and that her child would qualify. And her concern is that how and why does she has to go somewhere else to get help and support, and the district is not supporting her. If her child was already qualified as with autism, and when he entered kinder, they told her he didn't qualify. That's one of the concerns.
Ahorita actualmente él está calificado, la persona encargada me llamó para decirme que ya mi carta la habían recibido y que me iban a empezar a evaluar otra vez al niño y iban a retomar su caso. Y ahorita está en el programa, pero me da tristeza que ellos no ayuden cuando ellos están puestos ahí para ayudar a la comunidad. Pero me gustaría que pusieran a personas que de verdad están interesados en ayudar a los papás y no simplemente ayudar a lo que ellos quieren.
Now that she went to a program and that she sent that letter, now they're going to retest him again to put him in the program after he was qualified. And at first they told her no, and then she went and looked for help. And now they're going to look and test him again to qualify him again. And she wants to know if there's any way that he can get involved in all the districts, like in the whole state, so they can qualify him at the spot, not to wait till the parents go out and find help by themselves. To find like for the districts, to put professional people who know and get them when they get there. Not to wait until all the parents go out and find help. Yes. That's correct.
Muchas gracias por su atención y nomás quería enfatizar que soy migrante, tengo hijos con educación especial y para mí es duro, como dije en un principio, es viajar con ellos y queremos estabilizarnos en un solo lado, pero también pues sufrimos la ausencia de los padres, de estar separados, el trabajo y nos gustaría un poquito más de ayuda en esta parte y muchas gracias por ustedes.
First, I just want to say that as a migrant parent, it's hard like moving from state to state, especially with the kids with autism, that go from one school to the other. Also, she would like to thank you for coming here and listening to her concerns.
Thank you, Superintendent, for giving me this opportunity to give you my concerns. My name is Gabriela Quinteros. I am a parent. I am currently the president of the Migrant Education Parent Advisory Council at the state level. for the Department of Education for the migrant program. I am also a parent of a former special ed student that had an IEP from the age of 4 until he graduated from high school. I have 2 college students, one high school student who will be going to college this next school year. And I am a grandma of 2 twins that in 5 years will be in the school system in the state of Arizona. So I'm already advocating for them too. I have a concern of what the current funding, what's going on with our education system, that I know it's not your fault, but I'm here to advocate for our students, K through 12, that instead of being worried about prisons, opening more prisons, and not worrying about our education, we're getting funding taken away. Because when we have educated people in an educated society, we will have less prisoners that we will have to support. And we will have more educated people taking care of us. For example, like when we become elderly and maybe we go into a rest home, we need to get those children educated right now, because what type of person do we want taking care of us? And besides our K through 12 being defunded, they're defunding our college education, they're defunding our childcare and our preschool. As we know, children aged 0 to 5 is the age that they are building all their neurological stems are building in their brain, and they're getting ready to go to kindergarten, and we want them to be successful in kindergarten. And when we take away funding from preschool and from childcare, those children are not going to get that opportunity to be successful in school. So we need more funding for our education instead of prison. I have a special ed, well, my son, he was a special ed from 4 years old to high school. Please support our special education students. My child had an IEP from age 4. He would have been a person that somebody thought would never make it to high school, but I was always there as an advocate, fighting for his education. And then he was also in the migrant program, and they helped me, like, if there was some services he couldn't get from the special education, I would get it from the migrant program. Like in the summer, he was able to go to summer school. They would drop him off right in front of my mom's house because he was in special education. So we have to believe and help our special education students. That son of mine right now is a college student here. He will be graduating, getting his associates in May. And on Friday, he has a panel interview for a 2-year scholarship at NAU Yuma that will pay his last 2 bachelors, his 2 years of bachelor's. So if I didn't advocate for my child, and he would probably be in jail, or he would be a dropout working at a fast food place. So please support our special education students, and also please help continue to help the migrant program. If it was not for the migrant program, my 3 children would not have been able to go to Washington, D.C., meet John McCain, meet Cesar Chavez's granddaughter, and see that through education, everything is possible. If it wasn't because of that, they would not continue their higher education. So please continue to support the migrant education program. Common Core, I don't know what's going on right now, but my high school student, when she went into high school, she was put in Common Core. I didn't like it because when she was one of the first students put in there. She was like the guinea pig. The teachers were not educated, and it's not her fault because it was thrown at them. She was failing. she was put in like advanced classes and she didn't know what was going on and she would ask for help and they would just ignore her. So what I did, I just took her out of the high school setting and put her in a charter school. And she's doing really good. But if you do make Common Core, make sure that you educate the teachers and teach them to be able to know what they're teaching the students, because if not, they will fail. And thank you for hearing my concern.
Thank you. The next three names are Pilar Perez, Rebecca Lyons, and Jennifer Guzman.
Hi, my name is Pilar Perez, and it makes me very nervous to be here. And at the same time, it makes me very sad to hear some comments that I'm listening to the parents, because are the same concerns that I have. I am a parent of four kids. I am also a teacher, and more than anything, what I'm here for is to tell you that I want teachers to be happy in the classroom. I don't want them to leave the classroom. I want them to stay in the classroom, not to leave. Right now, we have that program, and through this, many what happens is the good teachers are being pulled out of the classroom to support the teachers who need the support. Unfortunately, it's not happening that way. The program is very nice, it's very fancy and everything. Unfortunately, because of all the pressure and everything that happens in the classrooms, in the schools that are not seeing, the master teachers are not able to provide the true support that educators, that us as teachers, we need. When I started, right now I can say that I am a good teacher, and it's not because of the mentor or because of the master, it's more because of the teacher that I work with next door, that I had the opportunity to say, hey, I need help with this, how can I do it? My kid is struggling with this, he's still not learning letters. I do it and I do it and I go over and over and he's still not doing it. He's not able to retain it. What else can I do? So a lot of the strategies, a lot of the support, it comes more from the next door teacher. So that's what I'm here for today. And one of the things that the other gentleman said here is, why not pay the teachers more? Why are we giving money to the district where the district are investing their money on bringing people and paying people good money for a training that sometimes is just a training, stay there, sometimes the trainings are not effective, and I would like to say more than 80% of the trainings are not as effective as they should be. So my concern is teachers right now are put into a lot of pressure with the way the observations are being. We have two unannounced that we do not know when they're coming. Sometimes we feel, oh, is today that unannounced? And I'm more worried about when is my unannounced, because that unannounced is going to do my performance pay. So if I'm not having a good day, if one of my students is deciding that, oh, today is not going to be my good day, that is going to affect my pay. Instead of looking at the data that the teacher is providing for the students, for the whole class. So today, what I'm thinking is look at the data so that those teachers who are performing, who are moving the class to a higher level, focus on those teachers, praise those teachers, give it that additional incentive so they don't want to leave the classroom. So we keep them where they need to be and keep educating our kids. I come from San Luis, it's right across our border. We get a lot of ELL kids. I am myself an ELL student and educating, so I take a lot of pride when I do my job with my kids, because I know that one time I was one of those students, and now I'm in the community where I want to be, not because I have to be there. I have no family here, and they're all telling me, come to Phoenix, come to Phoenix. I'm staying in my community because I want to do something for my community. This is where I grew, this is where I want to stay, and I know that I'm doing a good job, and those are the kids that I want to help, because one day, many years ago, I was one of those children. And so that's what I'm seeing in my community. Unfortunately, it's that I have a special kid that I have to advocate, and I'm only able to advocate because I'm on the side and I'm able to see that inconsistency with the IEPs. And I know that it's not only with my kid, it's with every kid that is in the classroom. So many of the times, yes, the IEPs look very nice on paper, unfortunately, it's not taking place in the classroom the way it should be. And for us as parents, we have to advocate, and when we go and we speak and we say, this is what is happening, this is what should be doing, they see us more as a threat, as, oh, here comes again, what does she want now? It turns into a negative side. Instead of working together, they have my child, I want to make sure that whoever has my child, we have a common concern in between, that the teacher knows that I'm approaching that teacher not because I do not like that person, but because I am not happy. And if I'm not happy, they need to know why and not take it personal. And I always tell my parents, come and watch me teach, because I know that you trusted me with your child and you don't know me. You don't know who I am. You're just sending your kid thinking that I'm going to do my job. Now, when I go to a doctor, I go to a doctor thinking that he knows what the doctor is going to give me, not knowing maybe that doctor might not be as competitive as somebody else, might not be giving me the appropriate, but I still take the medicine because I'm trusting it is the doctor. So that's what I do with my kids. I try to make sure that when those parents walk into the room, they're going to know that their kids are safe in the classroom, because that's a priority. Your child is going to be safe, and I'm going to make sure that your child learns. And if your child's not learning, then you need to come, and we need to together figure out what is happening. Is it me as a teacher, or is it the child that might have something going on with it at home? Because that's my concern right now. So for me, instead of giving just money to the district and here use it as you want and give them more freedom, I think it should be more here to the effective teacher. Look at the data, not the observation, because on an observation, I can do really good. I can do very good, but then again, you leave, I know you're not coming back, and I'm just gonna relax the day because I already show my observation, already showing my data is not showing. So I think we should look more at the data that the teachers are presenting, and as well as with the, going back to the, to IEPs from the students, I have my second child which is struggling in reading. So I'm able to help my child with the reading because I am a teacher. I've been in kindergarten, first, fifth grade, so I feel blessed that I have been in different grade levels because that gives me the confidence. And I already have a what's it called, a plan for my child. I have a vision, and I know exactly what I'm targeting with her. I'm not just doing everything. You need to learn this, and you need to learn that. No, I focus on little things because I already know where my child needs to be in fifth grade. So that's what I focus. Unfortunately, not every parent has the luxury of knowing what does my child needs to learn and needs to know when they go to fifth, to sixth, to seventh grade. And she was tested, she didn't pass, which makes me very happy, but I still ask because the reason is the test said that she is performing at, her potential. My question is, yes, you're telling me that she's performing to her potential, and I can tell you that she's not only is she performing to her full potential, she's performing beyond her full potential because she's having an amazing teachers. I know who the teachers are, I'm not blaming the teachers. She did not go to school to learn English. She entered as an English speaker, and she's also getting very good interventions at home, and I can tell you what kind of interventions. So you can see, is it productive or is it not productive? Unfortunately, my daughter was not getting those interventions at home, and it was not like already, she would be falling far below. And that's what makes me very frustrated, that a lot of it has to do is the psychology thinks that it's based on a test, it's not based on the whole picture, and let's look at the child. If we, and I know the research shows, that the earlier that we provide an intervention for a kid, the earlier, the better that child is. So why wait until that child is in fifth, sixth grade to provide that kid with support, with special support? Why not provide that child with the support the earlier that is detected? Yeah, maybe it didn't pass, but why? Because I have kids in kindergarten who are not being accepted in the special ed program for additional support because they didn't have the test. But my question is, if this child did not have the test, why can this child not know all the letters of the alphabet? Why can the child not know all the sounds. Why is this child not blending? Why is this child still not remembering the days of the week, the month? Little basic things. I'm not asking for a child to read a paragraph. We go over letter names every day, over letter sound. And I can personally say that I make sure that my interventions are very clear and very independent toward the need of the child. It's not like, oh, I like this, I'm going to do it. No, I look at what the child does not know, and from there I go. So now explain to me, why is this child not learning? And so a lot of it has to do not only look at the text, but look at the whole thing. And I think a lot of the teachers should have more input on the decision that is being made, because I am with the kid every day, not the psychologist who is just looking at the kid through a test, through paper. And not only that, but also with going to administrators. I want them in the classroom. I want the good teachers in the classroom, not outside the classroom. Keep them in there, and they're leaving the classroom because they want more pay. And I don't blame them. I know they want more pay. I don't want to leave the classroom. I want to stay in the classroom because that's where my heart is. And board members before they run, and I don't know who makes the guidelines, is it the city, the state, who does it, but board members should have some kind of background education, not just because I want to run, I know many people, and I want to be part of board members. Board members should be people who have an education and who have background in education, and maybe parents should also be part of the board members, because we just have a group of people, and in reality, who is the voice? I don't think that the board members is really there for the parents. I think it's more for the, I cannot say for who, but I don't think it's for the parents. I have approached several board members bringing concerns, and I haven't seen anything past the end of my conversation with those board members. And many of the teachers agree. So a lot of it, I think it should be that the board members and the superintendent and the administrators are also accountable for their work. Just as teachers are accountable for the students, for the classroom, administrators and superintendent and anybody else who is working for the district office in a higher level who are making the decisions for the teachers should also have some kind of accountability in their job, because to me, I don't think they have anything. It's okay, I'm already a principal, I don't have to worry much. Oh, I'm already a superintendent, it's me running the show now. But what if I'm not happy as a parent? Parents should have a lot more of influence when it comes to this. And my question is about coming forward. Sorry, I'll finish. I'm not against or in favor of the Common Core. I think that for us as teachers, if we're standing in front of the students teaching, they will learn instead of us sitting behind the desk and just looking at our computer, emails, and things like that. Thank you for being here, and I was very happy to see an email that you were going to be here, and I just wanted to come. And I'm speaking with the heart of a parent, not with the heart of a teacher. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Lyons. I'm the mother of 6, ranging from high school age down to preschool. I mostly want to cover my issue with Common Core and the AP Merit Test. I do want all of my kids to be college ready, and I don't think Common Core is going to get them there. I keep hearing the word rigorous every time we talk about Common Core and those that are in favor of Common Core, and I don't think just because it takes it takes them longer to figure out a problem, or it takes more steps to get to the answer, it doesn't mean it's more rigorous. It's a lot more confusing, but not more rigorous. My kids we moved here just a couple of years ago, right before they started the Common Core. My children that started kindergarten with Common Core, they do better with the homework. They don't get as confused because they're used to it. But when we ask them to solve simple problems, they can't spit the answers out like my older kids can, that learned with the standard teachings before Common Core. My second grader that's in second grade now that is used to Common Core has to have his paper and pencil and he has to go through all the little steps to find his answers. Whereas my kids that learn their math facts that don't change, they can spit their answers out fairly quickly, but struggle with their math homework because they don't, most of the time, because they don't understand what they're asking. Very poorly worded problems when it comes to their Common Core homework. I've talked to all of my kids' teachers. I go to all of my parent-teacher conferences, and I'm seeing a common frustration with them as well. I haven't found any of them that are really happy with Common Core. They struggle with it. They don't like seeing how the kids struggle with it. And thank goodness we've been blessed with great teachers that still on top of teaching the required Common Core still teach the standard as well, so that they, otherwise, as my son's fifth grade teacher told us last year, if she hadn't been teaching them the standard, all of her students were failing math. All of her fifth grade students were failing their math last year with Common Core. Common Core was supposed to mean that all the fifth grade students across the United States would be learning the same thing, fractions, but it isn't what's happened. Their college career readiness can only be achieved when students can read it at grade level, and because these teachers are spending so much time trying to prepare them for their tests, they lack in their reading skills. They're falling far behind in their reading skills. It creates nothing but frustration for teachers and burning our teachers out, and behavior issues with the kids that are confused and are just done. With the AZ Merit Test, I did opt my children out of the AZ Merit Test after doing some research. I find it hard to believe that it can be an accurate academic assessment when I went through and did every practice test for every grade level, and the tests were exactly the same for 3 grades in a row. I don't see how that can be an accurate academic assessment if they're getting the same test for 3 grades in a row. I'm extremely frustrated with Common Core and extremely frustrated with having to help 5 students with their homework after school and getting them to sit when it takes us hours to get through my son's math homework. Hours. And I appreciate you guys being here and listening to our concerns. And I am grateful for the good teachers that we do have at our schools, but really dislike Common Core. Thank you.
Hello, I am Jennifer Guzman. I am a student at Gila Ridge High School and the governor-elect of the Junior State of America in Arizona. Basically, what I do is represent the Junior State of America in Arizona and New Mexico on the national level. JSA is the nation's largest nonprofit student-run organization dedicated to fighting apathy and spreading civic engagement in the youth through the means of debating and thought talks. Our motto is Be the People. To me, it is crucial that people my age and my peers are heard. One thing I ask all legislators is to listen and to not forget about the opinion of the students, directly from the students. Now more than ever, teens are paying attention to the choices legislators make and how it affects us, the youth. So with this in mind, I ask you to take the opinions of the students seriously. I've gotten laughed at for saying that I am very interested in politics and what's going on in the world around me simply because of my age. To me, I don't find that acceptable whatsoever. I ask you to take us seriously, especially since we are the future of education and also politics. I've noticed that teens get intimidated to voice their opinion. I strongly believe that this has to change. It is not right for them to be intimidated just because of their age. A lot of us are extremely educated on what's going on in the country that we live in, on the choices our legislators are making, and anything in between. It cannot happen without both sides pitching in. So with this, I ask you to not dismiss the views of the youth. We are crucial to the progressiveness of Arizona and to the country that we live in. So with this, once again, I thank you for being here. I thank you for listening to our opinions. And the next time a student my age, I'm 16, someone around my age comes to you and tells you what they want to see change, take them seriously, because it is important and it does make an impact on their lives and what they believe in. Thank you.
So I have the card for the last speaker, Tom Fletcher. If there's someone else that wants to speak, please feel free to give me your card and name.
Initially, I didn't plan on speaking. I came to listen. I've been in education for almost 30 years. The last 10 of those years here in Arizona. I came from Iowa. Iowa is usually ranked in the top 10 of the nation for education. When I wrote curriculum as a teacher, we didn't have standards in Iowa. We didn't feel we needed them. A little arrogant, maybe. But what we did do is we turned to the national standards when we wrote curriculum. I think the Iowa kids have done pretty well. And in the history of education, most states took the Iowa Basic Skills Test. If you remember that, I've been around long enough. So I think we were doing something right when I lived there. And I came to Arizona for personal reasons. So just as the people here are saying they dislike Common Core, I heard some really interesting comments about Common Core. You yourself ran a campaign on, I am opposed to Common Core, I will stop Common Core. So my question to you, Superintendent Douglas, is why? I'd like to know what it is about Common Core that is so troubling to you. Have you read the standards? All of the standards, K through 12. As an administrator, my job is to read those standards and know those standards and help my teachers to figure out how best to implement those for our kids to gain knowledge. And some of my colleagues here tonight have spoken on that very issue. But let me step back for a second. When I first moved here, I was a parent also. And when I started, I was a teacher. And when I first came to Arizona, I was a teacher, and I had kids in the high school district and at the middle school level. And I would ask them, how was your day? How did it go? And it's hard to transition, especially with teenagers. Dad, we've had this information. I took this when I was in 7th grade. That was for my freshman son. My junior daughter said, Dad, I had it 2-3 years ago. So there were problems and flaws with the Arizona standards then. Like I said, I've been here about 10 years. So I won't argue, we can agree to disagree. But as I tell my teachers, we need to be critical consumers. And as a parent, I was a critical consumer. And I would challenge everyone in this room to be critical consumers. Don't always believe everything you read. You need to read multiple things. We teach our students to be critical consumers. Don't believe everything they read. Is it opinionated? What are the words we're looking for to let us know? If I believed everything I read, Superintendent, then you're painted pretty ugly sometimes if I read everything. So we have to be critical consumers. I think it speaks highly of you. I think it speaks a lot for you to come out across the state and listen and hear what we have to say and how we feel. I won't be long-winded. I just wanted to, I'm very passionate about education. I'm very passionate about children. I think one of the biggest concerns I have is funding my staff, funding education. I get concerned about the politics because my passion is children, and in the politics, I'm not hearing about children. I'm not hearing in that funding about the needs of children. And I can say the same thing about Common Core. I hear very political things, but I don't hear about children, and that concerns me. Standardized testing, again, is maybe a philosophical issue. I think there's other ways, as someone else spoke, there's other ways to tell if children are successful if they have mastered standards or mastered knowledge. I think performance tasks can be looked at. The standardized test that we just took, the AZ Merit, I can give you a list from the teachers who dealt with troubling kids who looked at that test. In my personal opinion and that of my staff and the students taking it, was about how to bubble. It wasn't about the content. It was about bubbling and how to bubble appropriately for how those test makers made it. So I guess I would ask, as the Superintendent of Education for the state of Arizona, are you working with those vendors? Are those vendors meeting our needs, or are we just making them wealthy through standardized tests? I would hope that they are meeting the needs we have and asking the questions the way we want the questions asked to show mastery by our students. And as far as technology, I'm a very pro-technology person. I have grandchildren that are going to be starting school soon. From the age of 1, they run smartphones. It's a very technological age. They're technology natives. I think it's a real sin for us not to provide that in our public school education. And sometimes I worry about the politicians running the state that, you know, if there's problems with public education, let's fix them. Let's not create other schools and put our money into those other kinds of schools that aren't supporting public education. I'm a product of public education. I'm married to someone who came from private education. That was a parent choice. We made those choices as parents as well. So I think if we want to fix public education, then we need to put our money into public education. I'm not an expert on it. I've heard lots of people that know more about it than I do. So, but thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. I respect that.
I believe it's the last name, Barbara Braden.
I'm Barbara Braden. I'm on the Animal School Board, but I speak as an individual. And I come from a long history in education, and what I hear is a tremendous confusion about what is Common Core, its implementation. One thing that I think has to be highlighted, the teachers are beat upon so much, but there are some teachers that I think have done an extraordinary job of taking that standard and turning it into a worthwhile program. It's a very difficult thing to do. It's sort of like, what's that expression, converting a sow's ear into a silk purse? They've done it. There are a lot that are still struggling. Yeah, I have a problem with Common Core in that it's never been validated. They claim it's been aligned with international standards. It has not. But it doesn't matter so much because way back when I was mathematics, our standard was the textbook. So we've come a long, long way. But I think what most important is we've got to separate these things out. There is the standard. I think K through 3 is the catastrophe and should be thrown out immediately. I have some problems with the mathematics, the area that I understand. If you finish by grade 12, you're not prepared for MIT. You might be in the fellow that created that said at best you're prepared for community college. That bothers me, especially as a mathematician. And then there's the other whole thing of testing. That's a whole separate issue. And my problem with testing is the time that it steals from the classroom. We talk about money, we talk about nickel and diming our schools to death, but we forget we have another very big resource, and that's time, and how we protect our time and how we utilize our time. And a big consumer of time are the testing. I think there's so many other ways to tell how well is a kid doing, and it doesn't do the kids any good. I think this is the other thing. We won't know till next fall whether a kid has done well on that test or not. We've got lots of other techniques, a lot of other methods to tell how well is a teacher or a student doing. But one last note, I know it's very hard for a lot of teachers to figure out how to implement all this. They need the support, they need the training, but most important, or maybe that's just because I'm a great believer in this, collaboration. I think that's probably the most important thing. That's how you learn. I was thinking earlier, what is career ready, college career ready? I have yet to find a definition of what that means. It is nowhere in anywhere place that I've read. Then I got to thinking, as I was in third grade, I wanted to be Batman. I thought that was a fine career to take up, but instead I became a superintendent of schools. Maybe there's a connection, I don't know. But thank you very much, and thank you for coming.
I want to thank you all for taking the time to come this evening. Dr. Tyree, thank you so much for being here to help me co-host this. Bob, I really appreciate your time being here, but most of all, I appreciate you. I tried just for a few closing comments as we go through these to listen to its theme. And I'll share two things with you, if you indulge me. I remember when I started on the school board and I went to visit one of our schools. It was Peoria Unified School District up in the Northwest Valley, Phoenix Valley. And a principal came up to me as I visited his school and he wagged his finger in my face and he said, "Young lady, I want you to remember one thing. One size fits one." And I think that's a lot of what we've heard tonight. There's a lot of different ways. Children are gifts, they're all different, and they can't all be treated exactly the same. The other thing, while I was on the school board, we always had an opportunity as board members in our monthly newsletter. We rotated sharing a column. And I always used to finish mine with a reminder to parents, and I was particularly pleased to hear about some of the advocacy, and because nobody loves children like their parents do. But what I would always end my column with was a reminder that teachers, principals, superintendents, school board members, our duty is to advocate for all the children. Only a parent can advocate for their child. And I hope parents always stay very strong advocating for their child. Thank you for being here. Please be safe going home, and God bless you. I appreciate your attendance.